This Fringey Life is brought to you by the Vancouver International Fringe Festival and the Arts Report on CITR 101.9 FM. Find them online at citr.ca. For more info on the Fringe, go to vancouverfringe.com.
For the past 3 years, a bald man with a mighty mustache and an even mightier personality has immersed his trashy, chic style into the Vancouver fringe culture. For the Arts Report on CITR 101.9 FM, it's This Fringey Life, a partnership with the Vancouver International Fringe Festival. My name is Nick Sartore, and as a fringe lover, I'm sure you've at least at some point pondered the history behind this plane-riding, club-hopping party animal. Well, let us put an end to your exhausting search for answers. Meet Jimmy Cameron, created by the illustrating mastermind Zuzia Juszkiewicz. Jimmy is an anomaly. He lives by his own rules, and unless you've met this stealthy free spirit, you'll never quite understand his brilliance. Here's Fringe Executive Director David Jordan.
Sure. Well, he was born in 2007. We had a very prestigious marketing company working on marketing for us. 2008. And we really thought it wasn't very good. What they came up with, we thought, this is terrible. This could actually really damage our reputation, this marketing campaign. And so...
What was the campaign?
It was the tagline they came up with was "Find Your Cool." You see what I mean? Like as soon as you talk about finding your cool, like you better be selling some milk or something. I just thought we're going down with this. So Zuzia was on she was a summer student, and I knew she was an Emily Carr artist, and it was her job to put together the program guide, but not to make the advertising. Mm-hmm. So I just turned to her and said, "Can you think you can whip something up here?" And we came up with a few different ideas, and then she made up Jimmy. This very if you haven't seen him, he's a very plain looking man. He doesn't have he's a line illustration. Mm-hmm. His mouth doesn't open. Mm-hmm. He has glasses and you cannot see his eyes. He's slightly overweight. He's often wearing a type of suit that makes you think that he might be a type of businessman, but not a very good one. So he's a kind of everyman. I think that the first year the tagline was "Find Yourself at the Fringe," and I think a little different from "Find Your Cool," and I think the where it came from was the idea that everyone can be themselves at the Fringe and actually find a way of expressing themselves. So in that first year, he was pictured with a banana phone amongst many other replicas of himself.
He was always in a row
of himself. So he was wearing everything was the same except for all of them had phones except for he had a banana phone. All of them were wearing suits except for he was wearing cut off shorts. I say he as if he wasn't the other ones, like as if it was like a kind of, would the real Jimmy Cameron please stand up? But that's what it was, and then he was so loved that year that the next year we just thought, well, can we put him somewhere else? Or how would we just started asking questions like, well, how would he get to the Fringe? And so that year Zuzia came up with, he was in this little plane. It was like a toy plane with like you could see his feet coming out of the bottom. So that was fun. That was "Come As You Are." That was the tagline that year. And then the next year we really wanted to focus on this kind of like the buffet of theater that the Fringe is, and so he was the eater, and so we had him scooping all of these theatrical people onto a plate as if he was going to eat them. In fact, she drew a picture of him eating them at one point, and it was horrific because his mouth was open, and we'd never seen that before. We were like, oh my god, this is not fit for public consumption. We cannot release that. It's in a vault.
No, that's really interesting because you create this character. Yeah. It was sort of a fly by the seat of your pants thing because you went, this marketing scheme that was created by these other people didn't make sense. So you came up with your own. Yeah. And now it's evolved into something that has such a strong culture that when you saw this newly transformed Jimmy, it was almost, like you say, disturbing. Like, it was a little bit, it threw you off.
It wasn't almost disturbing, it was. And in fact, Zuzia knew that it was. Like, even when she showed it to us, she was like, this is wrong, but you have to see it. It was like she'd drawn some type of perverted, like some sex scene or something that unimaginable. So yeah, and now this year, those little people that he was eating, it seems like that type, she started drawing these little people. It's as if they're taking their revenge. I can't even remember the jumping off point we had. We had a tagline that was the jumping off point.
To get to surrender, you mean?
Yeah. Maybe it could have been surrender to I can't remember, but it feels like the drawing came. I think the drawing came first. It was something else that what we gave Zuzia. We gave her an idea. We said, and then she came up with, as she does, she came up with something totally different from what we were imagining in her beautiful artistic way. And so we looked at this drawing, and it just had that thing that you need, that makes you go, that is really interesting. So then we came up with the tagline afterwards, because he is, in the picture, he's a giant. And the people are little, and they're all tying him up, and it's like kind of looks like he's Gulliver's Travel. He's Gulliver in Gulliver's Travels, So yeah.
Cool. How do you feel that he's fit into the culture as far as Fringe audience and Fringe staff? How have they embraced him as a member of the Fringe family? Do you feel that he now, like, he's the face of the Fringe, that people immediately recognize him and go, yes, that's the Fringe?
Yeah, I think so. I wish I could send him out for interviews, except for I don't know what he would say,
That's a good question, actually. What would he say?
I don't think he would. I think, I imagined for a while, like some animation that we could do with him where he would be on the website, but he would just kind of go, like he would just make small noises and but not say anything. I can imagine maybe he mumbles. But yeah, so he's just especially the staff really, they really know him, and they know what he would do and what he wouldn't do, and they're able to imagine his life. And this year's really exciting because we had in the picture this year, there's a kind of carnivalesque, like they're making him into a show. And so there's this woman wearing a bikini top selling balloons with his head on them. So we took one look at that and we thought, we have to make those balloons. So we did. We made Jimmy head balloons.
And are they going to be like on sale at the Fringe? Can people get them?
Oh, they'll be available. Not for sale. They'll be distributed.
It'll be a surprise.
Yeah, there are 1,000. There are 999 of them to be distributed. So not too many, but right. Still.
It's clear that Jimmy Cameron has become the new Fringe poster boy and is a perfect match for the festival. But I wanted to learn more about Jimmy's life before the Fringe.
It was this kind of really, a really cute story about my parents' neighbor.
This is Jimmy creator Zuzia Juszkiewicz.
And she had this dog that was named Jamie Cameron, I think. But I thought it was Jimmy for a long time because I think I just misunderstood her. And I think it was kind of like a tribute to this dear kind of sincerity and adorable nature of which she named her dog, Jimmy Cameron. It was named after the cutest boy when she was in school. And she was totally in love with him. And then, like, for many years had this pet that was named after him. And I think just... not to steal like her history or like, not to steal like the name or anything, but for me, I think it represented just something like really, really adorable and sincere. And I was trying to imagine this Jamie Cameron as like an old man or a businessman, and just thinking what he would look like and what kind of things he would get up to. So I guess that's where I came up with the character. I was like, okay, if he's still out there, this is probably, I don't know, for some reason I thought he would be like so unique.
So what's a particular story that stands out for you of something that you created for him in his life? Like, is there a particular moment that you can think of from Jimmy in your head?
In his life?
Yeah.
I think my all-time favorite one is when I get to draw him naked. Just like this kind of necessity to strip everything off and just go solo, go flying solo kind of thing.
Nice.
I think I like to imagine, like, just draw him without his clothes on every now and then. Well, he's always wearing underpants, so it's very PG, but everybody's all dressed up for the theater, and he's flying solo. He's doing his own thing. And I think the thing that I kind of really like about Jimmy is characters. From the moment that I started drawing him, he's always been defying kinds of norms in terms of behavior and dress code or drinking habits or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think that's the most interesting part of his character.
And David and I talked about, this is really specific now, but we talked about how his mouth is never open. He's always got his mouth closed. And then David told me about a recent drawing that you did, a sketch where he was, I think this was for last year's Fringe, where he was eating some of the artists, and he actually, like, he had his mouth open and you could see him chewing, and apparently David described it as really disturbing. Like, David was really disturbed by this idea that Jimmy could have his mouth open.
Right, yeah. We keep kind of deciding to draw him with his mouth closed, and this was the one drawing that I did just to shock David a little bit. And the way that I described it is like his mouth is so small when it's closed, that when it opens, it's like this horrific nightmare, like the jaws of a shark, massive teeth, just like willing to like engulf anything that come near it. And that was for the all-you-can-eat buffet. We decided not to go.
Not to go in that disturbing, horrific direction. So David and I talked about too how he said now in the Fringe staff, since the Fringe turnover every year, because the festival only happens 11 days and people come and go, is that every year he said the staff seem to become more and more invested in Jimmy, and each year the staff create new stories for him, and his character sort of develops more through the lives of the staff. Yeah, what do you think about that as the original creator of Jimmy?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think I take with as like the greatest compliment ever, you know, like you put something like that out into the festival, and over time it becomes the image of Jimmy becomes used over and over, but it's not only getting reproduced in print, like it's really complimentary that people, you know, will make paper mache chickens and draw him on the walls and create balloons of his head and do other things. Like everybody has a different idea of how he came about and what he's doing, and I think the Fringe being a festival that is a festival for 11 days, and the entire Granville Island gets changed into Fringe Island, is I think Jimmy's a part of that Fringe Island, and however people view him or their relationship to him and whatever story they want to create is amazing. Every year when I hear something new and see something new with him, I love it. I think it's so great.
Jimmy has come a long way since his incarnation at the Fringe in 2008. Last year, thanks to the help of Facebook, Jimmy was finally able to gather his friends for a Fringe party of epic proportions. However, inspired by the festival's theater buffet theme, Jimmy began a friendly quest to turn his posse into a decadent cheese fondue. Due to this crude behavior, David Jordan, Fringe executive director who we spoke to earlier, was forced to place Jimmy under house arrest, where he would eventually surrender to the Fringe. What's Jimmy's next Fringe-tastic adventure? The possibilities this year in 2011 are endless. One only hopes that he's wearing pants and that they are preferably not leather. For the Arts Report on CITR 101.9 FM, my name is Nick Sartore, and this has been This Fringey Life, a partnership with the Vancouver International Fringe Festival. For more information on the Fringe, visit them online at vancouverfringe.com. And to find out more about the Arts Report on CITR, you can visit us at citr.ca.